everyone. I am Sweetie from SV Classes. Today I will explain you a poem Wind written by Subramaniam Bharti. This poem is in the book Beehive of class 9. In this poem, as it is been told that the theme is based on wind. Wind is one of the natural phenomena, and here the poet has linked the destructive power of wind. You can see here through the picture. So here the poet is trying to link the destructive power of wind to the adversities of life and says that wind can cause two types of effect. So let us read the poem and try to understand its central idea. It is written by Subramaniam Bharti, who was born in 1882 and passed away in 1921. So you can say that he is a poet of pre-independence era. India got independence in 1947 and this was the time of pre-independence. So he was a poet of pre-independence. Subramaniam Bharti, also known as Bhartiyar, was a Tamil writer, a poet, journalist, Indian independence activist, a social reformer, and a polyglot. Polyglot means one who knows many languages. He was popularly known as Mahakavi Bharti, and he was the pioneer of modern Tamil poetry. So it was the time when the Indian poets were writing different types of poetry, and they were mainly based or they were being influenced by the condition of India during that time. We were under the power of Britishers. So here in this poem, Wind, uh, in an indirect way, the poet wants to give a message that wind is going to do some destructive things, but you should be strong enough to face the wind. So, in a way, the poet is trying to give a positive note through this poem. Let us first read the summary of the poem and then we will recite the poem and then understand it line by line. The poem Wind by Subramaniam Bharti is originally in Tamil. It was translated in English by A.K. Ramanujan. So A.K. Ramanujan translated it into English. Subramaniam Bharati is a great Tamil poet and famous for his patriotism in the pre-independence era. And A.K. Ramanujan is a Kannada and English poet, and he is also well known for translation of many classical and modern poetry. Now the poem Wind is in free verse. Free verse means it did not have any rhyme scheme. It does not have any rhyme scheme. The poem describes the power of wind on nature and human being. So wind has its own power on nature and human being. That has been described in this poem. And it focuses on the violent aspect of wind. It means the destructive aspect of wind that causes heavy destruction. And the poet tells us that the wind makes fun of weak people and things. So here the poet wants to give the message that if you are physically and mentally not strong, then you are bound to fail. But favors the strong, and if you are a determined person, then you are bound to success. He therefore suggests the reader to be strong both physically and mentally. The wind here is a symbol of hardship and obstacles. So what does the wind symbolizes? It symbolizes the adversities of life. That in life that we have many ups and downs. So wind has been symbolized with this ups and downs, with the adversities, with the hardship and obstacles which a human being have to face in their life. So if we remain strong, we can overcome any obstacles. So the summary, you can just see from the summary that the central idea, the message given by the poet is quite simple, but the poet is trying to give this message in a very beautiful manner. and that we can enjoy only after reading the poem. So first let us read the poem. Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You torn the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings, frail, crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, and crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. He won't do what you tell him. So, come, let's build strong houses. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steadfast. Do this, and the wind will be friends with you. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. So let us read the poem line by line. Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. Now difficult words. Scatter. To scatter means separate. To separate something. Disperse. In the assembly at the end students used to say assembly disperse. So disperse means to scatter. Come softly, here the poet wants to say blow softly. So in these four lines which are the starting of the poem, we see that the poet directly talks to the wind. What he says, wind, come softly. So as if the poet is directly talking to the wind. In fact, he makes an entreaty of the wind and he asks the wind, and what he says, he's just asking, he's just requesting that don't break the shutters of the window, don't scatter the papers, don't throw down the books on the shelf. So what the poet wants to say, he is asking the wind for protection. He tells that you come softly, so all these things would be protected. And he says that please do not scatter the papers in the room or throw down the books from the bookshelf. Here books is used maybe because he is a writer and he is more concerned about the books, and the very first thing that he doesn't want to disorganize is books. And it may be possible that he must have written some poems and that he doesn't want to be destroyed. So these four lines, they are very simple. Poet is just talking to the wind as if it is a human being and telling him that you come softly and protect us instead of throwing the things here and there. Now in this four line, let us see what is the figure of speech. The one figure of speech that we find here is anaphora. Anaphora means a word is repeated at the start of two or more consecutive lines. You can see here which word is repeated. Don't in line 2, 3 and 3. 2, 3 and 4. So this is called the figure of speech anaphora. Why figure of speech are used in a poem? To bring beauty in the poem, because poem is something which has been written with few words compared to a story or novel. We can use maximum words, but poem is something that in minimum words the poet have to give the maximum message, and for that very reason, to enhance the beauty of the poem, figure of speech is used. So here the figure of speech you can see anaphora is used. The next figure of speech is apostrophe. Apostrophe is a figure of speech when you address a non-living thing directly. So here the poet is directly addressing the wind as if it is a human being, and addressing the wind, what he says, come softly. So this is apostrophe. For example, if I write a sentence, death, don't come now. Death, don't come now. So this is also an example of apostrophe where a inhuman being is being addressed as if it is a human being. Now let us see the next four line. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. Here there is one word, tore. Students, you have to do one thing. Write the antonym of tore, the opposite of the word tore, in the comment box. Okay, so now let us understand the words. Here again the poet continues to speak with the wind, and what he says, now he addresses, and somewhat his mood is being changed compared to the first four line. He takes on in a very accusatory tone and his gestures towards the mesh in the room. What he tells the wind, that you have messed my room, you have made all the things here and there. Look what you did, you threw them all down, means you have made my room messy, and tells the wind that it is he who is responsible for it. So you are responsible, you tore the pages of my books. However, the poet does not restrict his vision only to the inside of the house. So till here he is just talking about the inside of the house, but then afterwards he is also talking about the outside thing. So outside, what he has seen, that you have brought rain again. So what the poet is saying, that he also have brought a rainfall while approaching the poet's house. Now let us see the figure of speech. Here in these four lines, we can see a personification. Personification means a inhuman being is given a human feeling. Wind has been personified. When the poet says you are, he is referring to wind as you, means as a human being, and that means he is treating wind as a person. Wind is endowed with human qualities of throwing and handling things. So wind is being told that he used to handle and throw the things. So here you can see the figure of speech of personification. Again we can see the figure of speech anaphora, because in line 6, 7 and 8 the word you is repeated. So in the first 8 lines we have seen that the poet is addressing the wind and telling wind not to destruct the things. Now let us see further what he is saying. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. Frail, crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. Let us see the difficult words first. Poking fun. Poking fun means making fun of something. To poke. The meaning of poke means to point out with a finger. So poking fun means making fun of something. Weaklings means a person who is weak, who is not strong. Frail means weak. Crumbling, falling, or to cause something to break. Crumbling, to crumble means to break. Rafter, a sloping beam which generally you see which supports the roof of a building. Winnows you can see here, it is a process through which the grain free of chaff and it separate grain from the husk or from the dust by blowing on it. And this type of winnowing you must have seen even at your house and at the villages, and every language has a special word for this process, winnowing. In Gujarati it is called upanhu. So in Hindi, Marathi, in every language there must be a word. In Gujarati it is called upanvu. The process is called upanvu. Okay, so let us come back. Wind god, according to an ancient Indian tradition, each natural power is controlled by a god, and wind is also controlled by God, to which we say Vayudev. So here, what the poet is telling, still in this line, the poet is speaking to the wind. He is still addressing the wind, but now his tone is somewhat changed. The poet tells the wind that he makes mischief. And how he makes mischief? Because he is poking fun to weaklings. Poking fun to weaklings means he is coming face to face, and anyone who is weak, who is not strong and mild, to protest against, and he is just making fun of them. Further, he says that he frail. He is also tearing down the doors, means of the houses, doors, rafters, wood, and everything. This is the wind's overaction. Actually, he wants to say that this is something that is doing overaction. However, wind has its own action, and to understand what the poet is talking about at this point, we have to just try to understand this example which he is giving of winnowing. So through this winnowing, what happens? We are trying to separate grain from the husk, means from the dust. Similarly, the poet says that wind can tear down the weak bodies and the fragile hearts. What he will do? He will crumble down all the weak bodies. But if you are strong enough, it means that difficulties in life can lead to a loss of hope as well as loss of life. And whether such things will happen or not, it is all upon the wind god. So this types of things are but natural to happen in our life. So here a comparison is made with the life situation. That wind, it means that difficulties may come in your life, and it is all depend upon the wind god. Means we are not going to manage it, we are not going to stop it. Now here in this we have a figure of speech. So here there is a figure of speech repetition. Repetition means repeating a word for many times. So crumbling has been repeated several times in this lines. So here there is a figure of speech, repetition, and the word crumbling is repeated to give emphasis. The poet wants to say that the wind crushes everything that is weak, and crushing means the crumbling word is repeated several times. Now let us read further. He won't do what you tell him. So come, let's build strong houses. Let's join the doors firmly. Now you can see, students, that here the poet stops speaking to the wind. Now to whom he is speaking? He is speaking to his readers. He won't do what you tell. So he tells to the reader that wind is not going to listen you. He is just going to do his work because he is not going to listen anybody, and that his actions are governed by him alone. So he is being governed by himself, and whatever we say he is not going to hear. So from these lines you can see that the poet is now addressing to the reader. Until now he was addressing to wind. So what he says, he won't do. Here he means wind. Wind won't do what you tell him. Means whatever you tell, he is not going to listen. Therefore, we cannot escape the ill effects of the wind. So come, let's build strong houses. So we are not going to escape from the effects of the wind. So what we can do instead of that, we can build strong houses, means with a strong foundation, and ensure that, and join the doors firmly, and we should be ensure that our doors cannot be easily penetrated in order to save ourselves from the wind. So here in these lines, the poet is now addressing to the speaker, to the reader, sorry, and he wants to say that we have to build strong houses because wind is not listening us. Whatever we are telling, he is not listening. So we should make strong houses, and we should strongly, firmly handle the doors. Now here in this line there is a figure of speech of alliteration. Alliteration means the repetition of the consonant sound. So here the consonant sound W is been repeated. Wind, were, we know, sorry, that is was in the previous one, and here it is won't, were, won't, what. So this line, this first line, it is an example of alliteration. Now let us read further. Practice to firm the body, make the heart steadfast. Do this and the wind will be friends with you. Practice to firm the body. Here there is a word steadfast. Steadfast means to commit, to devote, steady, reliable, firm, determined, relentless, unwavering. Your mind should be unwavering. You shouldn't have a wavering mind. You should be steadfast. You should be committed. You should be determined. Here there is one line which you may read and understand by yourself. These are the lines told by Helen Keller. Doubts and mistrust are the mere panic of timid imagination, which the steadfast heart will conquer and the large mind transcend. Okay, so now let us come back to the poem. Practice to firm the body. So you should practice to firm the body. In this line, the poet wants to say that some other ways in which the readers now should save themselves from the wind. He says that we must make ourselves strong, both physically and mentally. Make the heart steadfast. Body, it means physically, and heart, it means mentally. So here the poet wants to tell that we have to become both physically and mentally strong, and we must train our bodies and our heart to fight against the effects of wind. Do this, and if you do this, what will happen? Wind will be friends with you. It means that if we are able to do this, then the poet thinks that we will no longer consider the wind as an enemy, and wind will be considered as our friend. So instead, the wind will invite us to become his friend, and no more he would be the enemy for us. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. The wind blows out the weak fires. So these are the last, this one line is missing. The last is wind come softly. Come softly. Okay, so this is the last line, it is missing. So the wind blows out the weak fires. So what the poet wants to say now, poet describes the wind has both bad effect and good effects. And in order to say, what he shows that how the wind can blow out a fire which is glowing with a which is weak. So the fire that is weak, it will be blown out, means it will perish. But it makes strong fires roar and flourish. So what it means, that it shows that how the wind can flow out of fire if it is glowing weak, and if the fire is burning strongly, then the wind will not blow it out but make it more flourish, means prosper, develop, bloom. Thus the wind can nurture that which is already strong. So here the poet wants to say that wind will definitely nurture you. Nurture you means help you in developing you if you become a friend of wind, because his friendship is good. The poet comes to the conclusion. What conclusion he comes? He says that if we are strong, then the wind is a good friend for us, for he will increase our strength. And he also says that we should sing our devotion of wind god. We praise him every day, means we should also appreciate the wind god. The poet wants to say that this may seem a bit cautious, but he shows that we should always address the wind very well, and he knows that we should be devoted to the wind and we should make him a friend so that it may prevent ourselves from the difficulty. And in the last line he says, wind, you come to me in a gentle manner. So at the end what he wants to say, that even if we become strong, we cannot ignore the wind. We have to praise the wind. So now let us see what is the central idea of the story, and generally you can see the central idea or the theme of the story in these 4 lines. So what do the last 4 lines of the poem mean to you? In the last 4 lines, the poet inspires us to face the wind, which symbolizes the hardship, the adversities of life, and we have to face it courageously. He tells us that the wind can only extinguish the weak fires. Means if you are weak, then we will be finished. And if intensifies the stronger one. And if you are strong enough, then it will flourish you. Similarly, adversities in life deter the weak-hearted, means they will just blow down the weak-hearted but make the stronger those who have unflattered will, means who are having a committed, determined will. In such a case, be friendly to the wind or the hardship of life. Then it will seem to more easier. So you should become a friend of the hardships of life. You should be friendly with the difficulties, with the ups and downs of life. So this is the message that the poet wants to give through his poem. In this 4 lines, there is a figure of speech of symbolism. Symbolism means that the thing refers to some other thing. So wind is symbolized, and wind is symbolized as the difficulties of life. It refers to the challenges in life. He is using wind as a symbol of the adversities in our life. The another figure of speech is onomatopoeia. It means the roar. Roar, it has been described as the noise of fire. And the next is personification. It means that wind is being addressed and it is being given a human quality because it is making strong fires roar and flourish. So this is the message. We don't grow when things are easy. We grow when we face challenges. So difficulties in life, failures in life is should be taken as challenges to grow more and more stronger. It is a human tendency to hate problems and challenges because they don't understand that how important these are for our growth. At present also we all are facing the challenge of COVID-19 pandemic, and we have to accept this challenge and we have to grow ourselves. For the growth of any person, it is very important for them to face the challenges. So if a person who has gone through many struggles in life, that person will only become a successful person so that he can learn more about his weaknesses and strengths. So always challenges in life will make you learn about your weaknesses and strength. So you should be always constructive and never destructive. Be constructive and not destructive, because constructive helps you to be productive, profitable, sustainable, and destructive will give you all the negative feelings. I hope you would be able to understand the poem well. Thank you. And if you like my video, please like, share and subscribe.